Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. Myself Dr. Khirod Kumar Das from Department of Food Engineering and Technology, Tezpur University, Assam. Today I am going to discuss the principles of heat exchangers of the paper unit operation in food processing. In this module, we will discuss about the principle of heat exchangers and its application in food processing like milk processing, fruit juice processing and different other applications. Now let us discuss about the learning objectives of this module. In this module, we will discuss about what are different type of heat exchangers, what is the principle behind this heat exchanging process, and we will discuss different flow patterns, that is parallel flow, what is cross flow and what is countercurrent flow. Also we will discuss about the heat transfer in heat exchangers, that is overall heat transfer process in terms of U, heat exchanger effectiveness, and we will discuss about log mean temperature difference LMTD. In heat exchanger effectiveness, we will discuss both effectiveness in case of parallel flow and in countercurrent flow. So let us discuss what are heat exchangers. Heat exchangers are devices that facilitate the exchange of heat between two fluids that are at different temperatures without the fluid coming into contact. So the beauty of heat exchanger is the two fluids, that is hot fluid and cold fluid, both are not coming into contact of each other and heat is transferred. So in this process, heat is transferred from the hot fluid to the cold fluid. Heat exchangers are classified according to heat transfer process, types of construction and flow arrangement. So we will discuss the classification as per heat transfer process. So as per heat transfer process, heat exchangers may be direct contact heat exchangers, regenerative exchangers, recuperators. First one, direct contact heat exchangers. They have no physical barrier between hot and cold fluids. In this case, direct mixing of the fluid takes place, which results in simultaneous heat and mass transfer. This setup of direct contact heat exchangers are only employed when the fluids does not pose problem or is actually required, that is in cooling tower. So in cooling tower, direct contact heat exchangers are used. Let us discuss the second one, that is regenerative exchangers. In this case, heat is alternately stored and removed from a heat surface in a regenerative exchanger. The heat surface is moved into and out of the fixed hot and cold fluid streams, or the cold and the hot current is switched into and out of it as the case may be. These two types are called rotary and fixed regenerative matrix exchangers respectively. So regenerative heat exchangers may be rotary type or may be fixed regenerative type. Third one is recuperators. So it is the most vital type of heat exchanger. There is clear demarcating physical barrier between the hot fluid and the cold fluid. During the flow, the demarcable barrier between the hot fluid and cold fluid also exists. It is perfect for cases where one cannot afford to mix the fluids. Examples in food processing or in application of food is evaporators of an ice plant. Other applications in other industries is automobile radiators. Now let us discuss two basic type of heat exchangers used in food processing. One is cell and tube heat exchanger and another one is parallel flow heat exchanger or parallel plate heat exchanger. In case of cell and tube heat exchanger, many tubes are bundled and around the tubes there is one cell. Bundled tubes are there and around the bundled tubes one cell is there. So, one fluid flows across the tube and the other fluid flows in the cell side. So, there will be exchange of heat between the tube side and the cell side. In case of the flow is very large, the generally cell and tube heat exchanger is used. And if effectiveness requirement is high, then counter current arrangement will be there. Tubes are parallel and in the cell side the other fluid flows in opposite direction. Now let us come to the parallel plate heat exchanger. The beauty of parallel plate heat exchanger is if the area requirement is very less, then generally parallel flow heat exchanger is recommended. In case of parallel flow heat exchanger, the arrangement is such a manner that one fluid flows across one plate and the other fluid flows across the alternate plate, so that there will be exchange of heat between two consecutive plates. This flow arrangement is mainly due to the gasket arrangement. The gasket is arranged such a way that the cold fluid is not allowed to pass the next plate and it flows, cold fluid and hot fluids both flows in alternate manner. And as per the requirement, the cell and tube heat exchanger or parallel plate heat exchanger are applied. In heat transfer process, this has a major advantage over conventional heat exchanger in that the fluids are exposed to a much larger surface area because the fluids spread out over the plates. The high heat transfer efficiency for such a small physical size has increased the domestic hot water flow rate of combination boilers. Now let us discuss about spiral heat exchangers. This spiral heat exchanger is formed by spiraling two parallel flat sheets to form a spiral consisting of two flow channels. The fluids flow through these channels and because of the shape get a lot of surface area for heat transfer. So, due to the spiral movement of the flow channel, it is getting a compact area. So, within a small area, higher heat transfer has been achieved. This fluid generally flow in a counter current fashion in a spiral heat exchanger. Next one is double pipe heat exchanger. Double pipe heat exchanger consists of two concentric tubes with one fluid flowing in the inner tube and the other fluid flowing in the annular space between the two pipes. The fluids can be in concurrent or countercurrent, that is in parallel or countercurrent flow. The exchangers can be made from a pair of single lengths of pipe with fittings at the ends or from a number of pairs interconnected in series. These can be used for small flow rates. So, as shown in the diagram, this is a double pipe exchanger. In this case, the inner core, inside the inner core, fluid 1 is flowing and outer pipe is the cell and in which the fluid 2 is flowing. So, if inner fluid is the hot fluid, then outer fluid is the cold fluid. So, as shown in the figure, both the fluids are moving in a counter current flow direction. So, this is a arrangement of flow in a double pipe heat exchanger. Cross flow heat exchanger. The fluid moves in a cross flow. So, in case of cross flow heat exchanger, cross flow means both the fluid move perpendicular to each other. So, one fluid flowing in the tube and the other fluid flowing over the tubes in the transverse direction. So, if hot fluid is moving in one direction, then the cold fluid will be moving perpendicular to the direction of the hot fluid. The fluid inside the tubes is considered to be unmixed since it is mixed, it can move about freely between the tubes, and there will be a tendency for the gas temperature to equalize in the direction of normal to the flow. For the unmixed fluid inside the tubes, there will be a temperature gradient both parallel and normal to the direction of flow. There are two configurations of cross flow exchangers. Number 1, finned with both fluids unmixed. Number 2, unfinned with one fluid mixed and other unmixed. Okay, let us discuss about the different flow arrangements in a heat exchanger. Basically, as per the flow arrangements, heat exchangers can be of three types. One is parallel flow, then counter current flow and cross flow. Let us first discuss about the parallel flow. In case of parallel flow heat exchanger, both the cold fluid and the hot fluid both move in the same direction. When we will say about the counter current flow, both are in opposite direction, and in case of cross flow, the hot fluid and cold fluid both move perpendicular to each other. In case of parallel flow, one thing is that the outlet temperature of the cold fluid cannot be greater than the outlet temperature of the hot fluid. But in case of counter current flow, the outlet temperature of the cold fluid may exceed the outer temperature of the hot fluid. So, in terms of effectiveness, we can say counter current heat exchanger is more effective than the parallel flow heat exchanger. So, in most of the industries, counter current flow is applied instead of parallel flow. Coming to the cross flow, as per requirement, it is the movement is perpendicular, hence whenever perpendicular flow is required, cross flow heat exchanger is generally used. Let us discuss more details about it. So, now let us discuss in details about the different flow arrangements. Parallel flow. So, heat exchangers where the fluid move in the same direction are referred to as parallel flow. In parallel flow heat exchanger, the outlet temperature of the cold fluid can never exceed the outlet temperature of the hot fluid. So, if we will compare the outlet temperature of both cold fluid and hot fluid, we will find that the outlet temperature of the cold fluid is always lesser than the outlet temperature of the hot fluid. This parallel flow heat exchanger is performing at its best when outlet temperatures are equal. So, we can say if the outlet temperature of cold fluid is equal to outlet temperature of the hot fluid, then it is the best parallel flow having maximum efficiency in the heat exchanging process. So, as shown in the diagram, in this diagram, hot fluid is flowing in the same direction as that of the cold fluid. Hence, both are moving in parallel direction, hence the flow is known as parallel flow. So, next pattern of a flow is counter flow. As shown in the diagram, in case of counter flow, the hot fluid movement is opposite to the direction of the cold fluid. So, exchangers where fluids move in opposite direction are referred to as counter flow. Counter flow heat exchangers are inherently more efficient than parallel flow heat exchangers because they create a more uniform temperature difference between the fluids over the entire length of the fluid path. Counter flow heat exchangers can allow the cold fluid to exit with a higher temperature than the existing hot fluid, which already we have discussed. In case of parallel flow, the outlet temperature of cold fluid will be lesser than that of the hot fluid, but in case of counter current flow, we can get the outlet temperature of the cold fluid greater than that of the hot fluid. Coming to the LMTD of the counter current flow, The efficiency of a countercurrent flow heat exchanger is characterized by the log mean temperature difference between the two fluids. Lower values of LMTD indicate better heat exchanger performance. So another pattern is cross flow. As shown in the diagram, in case of cross flow, both the fluids move perpendicular to each other. The hot fluid and the cold fluid move perpendicular to each other. This is often a convenient way to physically locate the inlet and outlet ports in a small package. However, it is less thermally efficient than a purely counterflow design. Many actual heat exchangers are a mixture of cross flow and counterflow due to space constraints that force the flow paths to wind back and forth. We will now move towards the next portion, that is heat exchanger analysis. Heat exchanger analysis is divided into three parts. One is overall heat transfer coefficient, second one is LMTD, that is log mean temperature difference, third one is effectiveness of heat exchangers. Overall heat transfer coefficient. Let us discuss about this. Under steady operation, the mass flow rate of each fluid stream flowing through a heat exchanger remains constant. So let us discuss about the different regions. So in this process, heat exchanger process, we have three regions. Region 1, from hot liquid to solid convection. Then region 2, conduction across the wall, and region 3, solid to cold liquid convection. So now analyze each region. So about region 1, hot liquid to solid convection, convective heat transfer occurs. The heat flow, that is Qx, equal to Hh into Th minus Tiw into Ai, where Hh is the heat transfer coefficient of hot fluid. This is convective heat transfer coefficient, so unit remains watt per meter square Kelvin. Th is the temperature of the hot fluid. Tiw is the temperature of inner wall. Ai is the inner wall area through which this convective heat transfer occurs. Now let us move to the region 2, that is conduction across the wall. So conduction across the wall, heat flow, that is Qx, equal to K into ALM, that is log mean area, divided by R0 minus Ri whole into TOW minus TIW. TIW is the temperature of inner wall, TOW is the temperature of outer wall. Both the temperatures are expressed in terms of Kelvin. ALM is the log mean cross-sectional area, that is meter square per second. And here we have R0 and Ri. R0 represents the outer radius and Ri represents the inner radius. Coming to the region 3, it represents solid, liquid and cold liquid convection. Again, it is a convective heat transfer, so Qx is represented Sc into TOW minus Tc into A0. Here Sc is the convective heat transfer coefficient of the cold fluid. It is expressed in terms of watt per meter square Kelvin. A0 is the cross-sectional area of the outer wall, that is meter square per second. Tc is the temperature of the cold fluid, and TOW, as we have already discussed prior to this, this is the temperature of outer wall in Kelvin. We will discuss the heat exchanger analysis. What will be the overall Qx? The expression we will analyze by adding the above three equations that we obtained for the different regions, that is from region 1, from region 2 and region 3. From region 1 we found TH minus TIW equal to QX divided by HH into AI. From region 2 we found TOW minus TIW equal to Qx into R0 minus Ri whole divided by K into log mean area. TOW minus TC equal to Qx divided by HC into A0. So, for all these three regions we have got three different temperature differences. Adding all these three equations, what we will find? We will find TH minus TC. This is the left hand side, summation of left hand side resulted in TH minus TC. Coming to the right hand side, we will get the summation of these three as Qx into 1 minus HH into AI plus R0 minus Ri divided by K into ALM plus 1 by HC into A0. So, here we have three parts. First part is for convection in the inner surface. Second part is the conduction across the wall. Third part represents the convection across the outer surface. So, TH minus TC can be represented in terms of three resistance. That is resistance 1, that is R1 is 1 by HH into AI. Resistance 2, that is R2, R0 minus Ri divided by K into ALM. Resistance 3, that is 1 divided by SC into A0. So, TH minus TC can be represented as Qx into R1 plus R2 plus R3. Qx equal to U into A into TH minus TC. So, by comparing these two equations, we will get the expression for overall heat transfer coefficient, that is U equal to Qx divided by TH minus TC into area. Now, we will discuss about the fouling factors. So, what is fouling? Dirt, soot, scale and other deposits from on one or both sides of the tubes of an exchange and on other heat transfer surfaces. These deposits form additional resistances to the flow of heat and reduce the overall heat transfer coefficient, that is U. To avoid or lessen these fouling problems, chemical inhibitors are often added to minimize corrosion, salt deposition and algal growth. The effect of such deposits on fouling is usually taken care of in design by adding a term for the resistance of the fouling on the inside and the outside of the tube. So, 1 by Rfi, that is fouling coefficient for the outside of the tube, is 1 by Ai into HDI. Similarly, 1 by Rfo, fouling coefficient for the outside of the tube, equal to 1 by AO into HDO. That 1 by Rfo or 1 by Rfi is the fouling coefficient for inside and outside, that is represented in terms of watt per meter square Kelvin. So, now we will discuss the overall heat transfer coefficient, that is U, by considering the fouling factors. Overall heat transfer coefficient U for the case of fouling can be presented as 1 by U equal to 1 by Hi plus 1 by HDI plus R0 minus Ri divided by K into ALM plus Ai divided by A0 into H0 plus Ai divided by A0 into HDO. Here HDI is the fouling coefficient for the inside of the tube expressed in watt per meter square Kelvin, and HDO fouling coefficient for the outside of the tube, watt per meter square Kelvin. In this section, we will discuss about the heat exchanger analysis. In heat exchanger analysis, we will discuss three things. One is overall heat transfer coefficient, second one is LMTD, that is log mean temperature difference, and third one is effectiveness of the heat exchanger. overall heat transfer coefficient, that is U, and LMTD log mean temperature difference is multiplied with overall heat transfer coefficient, and area gives the total heat transfer rate, that is Q equal to U into A into del T Lm. Del T Lm is different for counter current flow and for co-current flow, that is parallel flow. So, this del T Lm is del T2 minus del T1 divided by ln of del T2 divided by del T1. Del T2 is the temperature difference at one end and del T1 is the temperature difference at the other end. So, in case of parallel flow, the log mean temperature difference is lesser than that of the counter current flow. So, as Q is a multiplication of UA and del TLM, so overall heat transfer rate is more in case of counter current flow than in the parallel flow. Coming to the heat exchanger effectiveness is the ratio of actual heat transfer rate and maximum possible heat transfer. Maximum possible heat transfer, that is Q, equal to C max into temperature difference of the hot fluid and the inlet temperature of the cold fluid. So, that C max is different for hot fluid, that is C into specific heat into mass of the hot fluid, and for cold fluid it is mass into specific heat of the cold fluid. So, the heat exchanger effectiveness for cold fluid and for the hot fluid we will discuss in details. Let us discuss about the mathematical expression for log mean temperature difference, LMTD. Log mean temperature difference is the logarithmic average of the temperature difference between the hot and the cold streams at each end of the exchanger. The larger the LMTD, the more heat is transferred. This is very important. So, Q is expressed as Q equal to U, overall heat transfer coefficient, into area into log mean temperature difference. Log mean temperature difference, the mathematical expression is del T Lm equal to del T2 minus del T1 divided by ln of del T2 by del T1. Here we have two pictures that is showing the log mean temperature difference. Let us say the flow is parallel. The hot fluid and cold fluid both are flowing in the same direction. Thi, temperature of the hot fluid at inlet. Tho, temperature of the hot fluid in the outlet. Tci, temperature of the cold fluid in the inlet, and Tco, temperature of the cold fluid at the outlet. Here I have diagrammatically shown how the temperature is varying as per the length of the pipe, that is denoted as x. So, it is seen that temperature of the cold fluid is increasing from Tci to Tco, and the temperature of the hot fluid is decreasing from Thi to Tho. So, at one end we can say the temperature difference del T1 equal to Thi minus Tcy, whereas at the other end del T2 is represented as Tho minus Tco. So, del T1 is at one end and del T2 is at the other end. So, as already we have discussed prior to this, in case of parallel flow heat exchanger, from the picture it depicts the cold fluid outlet temperature is always lesser than that of the hot fluid outlet temperature. In this we have discussed about the counter current flow heat exchanger. Also we have two pictures, one is showing the flow arrangement, another one is showing the temperature variation as per the length of the pipe. Here we have Thi, hot fluid inlet, and Tho, again hot fluid outlet. The hot fluid in the picture, the hot fluid is moving in opposite direction to that of the cold fluid. So at one end THI is the hot fluid inlet and at the other end THO is the hot fluid outlet. In terms of temperature difference at one end, del T1 in this case will be THI minus TCO, whereas del T2 will be THO minus TCI. So by applying the del T1 and del T2 in the log mean temperature difference formula, we can get LMTD for the countercurrent flow heat exchanger. So we have just shown the figures for flow pattern and the temperature variation for parallel flow and for countercurrent flow. In case of parallel flow, we have discussed what is del T1 and del T2 and what is del T1 and del T2 for countercurrent flow. If it is parallel flow, del T1 is TH1 minus TC1, otherwise it is THI minus TCI. Del T2 equal to TH2 minus TC2 or THO minus T. For countercurrent flow, del T1 is represented as TH1 minus TC1, which is equal to THI minus TCO, and del T2 equal to TH2 minus TC2, which is equal to THO minus T. Del T1 is the temperature difference at one end and del T2 represents temperature difference at the other end. THC or TH1 is the inlet temperature of the hot fluid. TC1 is the inlet temperature of the cold fluid. TH2 is the outlet temperature of the hot fluid. TC2 is the outlet temperature of the hot fluid. So overall what we found, log mean difference for counter flow is greater than the log mean temperature difference for parallel flow. If U is same for parallel and counter current flow, then area requirement for counter current flow is lesser than the area requirement in parallel flow. If both streams exchange either latent heat or sensible heat, but not both, then del T average, that is average temperature difference, will be equivalent to del T Lm. In this case, we can say del T Lm equal to del T end1 minus del T end2 divided by ln of del T end1 minus ln of del T end2. For both co-current and counter-current flow, del T end1 equal to temperature difference between the two streams at end 1 of the column, unit is Kelvin. Del T end2 is the temperature difference between the two streams at end 2 of the column, unit is Kelvin. Now we will move to the next portion, that is effectiveness, or it is known as NTU, number of transfer unit method. So what is heat exchanger effectiveness? Heat exchanger effectiveness is defined in terms of the actual heat transfer rate Q and the maximum heat transfer rate Q max that would be obtained with a heat exchanger of infinite area. So Q max, that is maximum heat transfer rate, may be represented as multiplication of C minimum into THI minus TCI. There are two cases. Case 1, cold fluid is the minimum fluid, that is Cc is less than Ch. Cc is the mass flow rate of cold fluid. It is mass into specific heat of the cold fluid. Ch is the mass flow rate of hot fluid, that is mass into specific heat of the hot fluid. Both Cc and Ch mass flow rate of for cold fluid and hot fluid is represented in unit kg per second. So let us come to case 1, that is cold fluid is the minimum fluid. If cold fluid is the minimum fluid, that is Cc is less than Ch, Q max is represented as Cc into Thi minus Tci. For Ch is less than Cc, that is hot fluid is the minimum fluid, Qmax equal to Ch into Thi minus Tci. So as we have already explained, effectiveness is the actual divided by maximum. So actual is represented as Q, maximum is represented as Q max. So Q is represented as Ch into Thi minus Tho. Q max may be C minimum into Thi minus Tci. So effectiveness of the heat exchanger epsilon equal to Q divided by Q max, which is equal to Ch into Thi minus Tho divided by C minimum into Thi minus Tci, which may be represented as Cc into Tco minus Tci divided by C minimum into Thi minus Tci. Here Q max is the maximum heat transfer. Th is the outlet temperature of hot fluid in Kelvin. Tco outlet temperature of the cold fluid in Kelvin. Thi inlet temperature of hot fluid. Tci inlet temperature of the cold fluid. Cc heat capacity of cold fluid in watt per Kelvin. Ch heat capacity of hot fluid in watt per Kelvin. The maximum possible heat transfer rate Qmax will be based on the maximum difference driving force in the heat exchanger. This would be the difference between the entering temperatures of the hot and cold fluids. The fluid that might undergo this maximum temperature difference is the one having the minimum value of MCP. The product MCP is called heat capacity rate. The maximum heat transfer is Q equal to MCP, that is heat capacity rate minimum, MCP minimum, into Thi minus Tci. So the minimum fluid may be either the hot fluid or cold fluid depending on the product value. If the hot fluid is minimum fluid, it is represented as Ch is lesser than Cc, that is temperature of the hot fluid is equal to inlet temperature of the cold fluid. So we can say outlet temperature of the hot fluid is equal to inlet temperature of the cold fluid. In this case, if hot fluid is the minimum fluid, that is Ch is less than Cc, maximum heat transfer Q max is represented as MCP of H hot fluid into Thi minus Tci. If the cold fluid is the minimum fluid, Cc less than Ch, that is Tco is equal to Thi. So in this case, Q max equal to MCPC, as cold fluid is the minimum in this case, so MCPC into Thi minus Tci. So what we got, in one case hot fluid is the minimum fluid, in another case cold fluid is the minimum fluid. So we got Q max equal to MCP minimum into Thi minus Tci, which is equal to MCP minimum into del T maximum. So Q max is represented as, represented as heat capacity rate for the minimum into maximum temperature difference. Here we will discuss the final expression for co-current or parallel flow and final expression for effectiveness for counter current flow. The effectiveness for co-current flow is represented as 1 minus exponential of minus NTU into 1 plus C minimum divided by C maximum divided by 1 plus C minimum divided by C maximum. For the counter current flow case, effectiveness is represented as 1 minus exponential of minus NTU into 1 minus C minimum divided by C maximum whole divided by 1 minus C minimum by C maximum into exponential of minus NTU into 1 minus C minimum by C maximum. So, this expression applies for C minimum by C maximum is lesser than 1. So, here we express the effectiveness for both co-current flow and for counter-current flow. This expression applies for C minimum by C maximum lesser than 1. In the analysis of heat exchangers by this method, we define the number of transfer units NTU as the ratio, that is NTU equal to UA divided by MCP minimum. The NTU indicates a measure of the size of the heat exchanger. So, for any heat exchanger, effectiveness is a function of NTU and the ratio of C minimum and C maximum. So, effectiveness equal to NTU divided by 1 plus NTU when C minimum divided by C maximum equal to 1. Now, we will discuss some steps to calculate the effectiveness. Number 1, performance analysis. Step 1, calculate the capacity ratio CR equal to C minimum divided by C maximum and NTU UA divided by C minimum from input data. Step 2, determine the effectiveness from the appropriate charts or ENTU equation for the given heat exchanger and specified flow arrangement. When E is known, calculate the total heat transfer rate. Step 4, calculate the outlet temperature. Here we will do the sizing analysis, that is how to calculate the total transfer surface area. Step 1, when the outlet and inlet temperatures are known, we can calculate the effectiveness. Step 2, calculate the capacity ratio CR equal to C minimum divided by C maximum. Step 3, calculate the overall heat transfer coefficient U. Step 4, when effectiveness and C and the flow arrangement are known, determine NTU from the ENTU equations. Otherwise, when NTU is known, calculate the total heat transfer surface area. So, from this is a plot of NTU versus effectiveness. So, if we know the NTU and effectiveness, we can calculate the capacity ratio from this plot. So, students, let us now summarize what we have discussed in this module. In this module, we have discussed about the principle of heat exchanger, that is how heat flow occurs between the cold fluid and the hot fluid without the fluids coming in contact with each other. How the exchange of heat occurs. This process, the heat exchanger principle, will help us to design a heat exchanger for a specific flow requirement. Suppose we are doing the pasteurization of the milk. What is the flow rate of the inlet flow rate of the milk? What is the inlet temperature of the milk? And as per requirement, if the outlet temperature requirement of the milk is this much, as per the flow rate, what should be the size of the heat exchanger if it is a cell and tube heat exchanger? What is the area requirement? That we can analyze. Generally, as we have discussed in food processing, parallel plate heat exchanger and cell and tube heat exchangers are used. So, we can design for a specific flow requirement what is the number of plates required in case of parallel flow heat exchanger, and if it is a cell and tube heat exchanger, what is the area, and as per the area what is the length of the cell and tube heat exchanger requirement, that we can analyze by this process. As we have also discussed about the effectiveness of the heat exchanger, by taking parallel flow and counter current flow, we can evaluate the effectiveness of the heat exchanger. That is very much important to know the efficiency and the cost effectiveness of the entire process. Also, we have discussed about the log mean temperature difference, overall heat transfer coefficient. So, as a whole, by knowing all these things, we can design a heat exchanger for the specific requirement, so that it can be applied in different food processing units. Thank you all.